Oh, welcome back, Texas Rugby fans, far and wide from El Paso in the west all the way over to Houston. What's past Houston in the east? I don't know. All the way to Beaumont. All the way to Beaumont, way down to the listeners we have on South Padre Island, and all the way up to whatever's up north. I don't know. Like there's
we have listeners in the valley.
In the valley?
Yeah.
Wait, like the California Valley or
Brownville? Brownville.
Are you actually from Texas?
No, I'm not. That's the thing. Okay. I just live here.
The valley is so at the end of the Rio Grande. There's a series of cities right there on the border, and all of those cities: Harlingen, Brownsville, Farr. There's a bunch of them. They're all called the Valley.
Okay. Great. Well, hello to everybody listening down in the valley, which I believe is another song, down in the valley somewhere. I'm sure if it's not, we can make down by the river, in a van down by the river.
Want me to Google that?
Yeah, we can Google that. Well, hey, thanks for joining us for Texas geography lessons today, brought to you by Grant Cole over in Houston. That's Rick Collins up in Dallas. I'm Dustin Zaire here in Austin. This is Texas Rugby Monthly. This is the May edition, but at the beginning of June because, oh, God. I was on vacation 2 weeks ago and we couldn't record. And then we started to record last week, and then Rick's computer shit all over him and didn't give him any sound, or I don't know, we couldn't hear him or something didn't happen. We recorded our guest. Grant and I had a wonderful conversation with our guest who's coming back on today. And then that shit all over itself too. So here we go. Third time's the charm. Texas Rugby Monthly May edition. Guys, how is your end of April through May, beginning of June been? You guys building your arcs anywhere? Are y'all getting rain like we are here in Austin?
Dude, this rain has been insane up here. There were moments where I thought I was living in Houston again.
I was just getting ready to ask. Are you living in? I feel like I'm living in Houston without as humid as it is here.
There's been plenty of rain here, but not like you get, not the deluge like you guys have been getting.
Oh, jeez.
Of course, your deluge is showing up in our river now, and it's putting it near the top of Bang. So thanks.
Yeah, there you go. Think of those down here in Texas when you're like, oh, it's nice and summery down there. It's like, yeah, it's hot and humid everywhere. I can tell you, on the way back from New Mexico, I drove through parts of Texas and it was just hot and humid everywhere. I'm like, oh, come on, man. Houston is extending its grasp into the rest of Texas right now. But hey, we're not
showing
here.
The love, baby.
Show the love. But we're not here to talk about weather. Surprisingly, I mean, we can if you want, but I think we're going to talk a little bit of rugby. A lot of stuff's been going on. MLR full steam ahead, halfway through the season now. How did that happen already? Can you believe that? Rick, how's your team in Dallas doing? Oh, never mind. Sorry. Proud Jackal supporter. I do want to point out though, if Rick slides to one side on his chair, he is a proud supporter of these here Gilgroniacs. That's right, baby. AGs. He was at a game. What was it? 3 weeks ago? Were you at the LA game?
No, New York. We were at Rooney.
The Rooney game.
That was a great win.
That was a
great atmosphere. Packed stadium. We had a blast.
Yeah, I mean, for COVID, I mean, we are, from what I understand, is they are not quite selling out every game, because I think they're like 3,000 people capacity, but they're pretty darn close. I can tell you, I went to the Seattle game, just absolutely wall to wall with COVID. So that's it's awesome to see. I mean, it's awesome to see rugby getting so big and stuff. And I'm glad that you like the atmosphere. I hope that other people are liking what's going on with the atmosphere as well. So
I think it was disappointing that wasn't the nationally televised game, and that the national televised game was the Wednesday game, which didn't have nearly as many people at it.
No, well, it's Wednesday game. Like, we've had 2 Wednesday games. They don't really have a great turnout. I know. So for those of you that are wondering why Austin played on a Wednesday, it was because the first ever NASCAR event was at Coda, and they used the big area in front of Bold Stadium as a like a fan zone, if you will. So that was the reason why. You know, NASCAR tends to have a few more followers than rugby does. Just a few.
Of course, that race was rather ugly.
It was rather ugly because it was in the rain, and it ended early, I believe. I don't know. I don't really follow NASCAR, so
6 laps early.
Yeah, well, that's not too bad. Yeah, it's kind of anticlimactic, probably, right? I don't know. I don't really follow NASCAR.
But
so.
Austin was putting on a show there against Rooney, and things were looking good. And seems like it's taking a turn for the worse.
We'll get into that.
And then there was Utah.
And then there was, geez Louise. and the mascot on the motorcycle. So
my goodness.
Hot controversy we'll get into later. We're going to kick it off, though, starting in Houston. Grant Cole, what's going on over in Houston, man? How have things been?
Houston is in a slump.
Just the city in general, or the team?
No. The team in a slump.
Both.
Both, yeah.
You know, and the coach and the players are equally frustrated about it.
I would hope so.
You know, yeah, they're doing all they can to set things right, but it's just the last few weeks have been frustrating. You know, going in this weekend, we have the Gilgronis as for the second round of the Texas Cup in 2021, and you know, we're looking forward to that. I'll be out there tailgating pretty early, and I'll be out there pretty much all day with the USA Rugby Talent ID Camp.
Oh, nice.
Going on at Aviva Stadium. So, yeah, it's U18s, U23 women are in the morning. Okay. And then at 10:30 is a U18 men, 12:30 is U20 men, and 2:30 is the U23 men. So it's a big day of talent ID, and you know, there's a lot of good things coming out of that. I really like what Brendan Keene and Mr. Browner from World Rugby have put together for this group, and I think they're in the right direction towards starting with talent ID and development for our pathway to be an Eagle.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah,
hey,
we're hosting
how
that
about HTX?
So, I mean, we ended the season 5-5, 500. So we wanted to come out without a losing season, and we did. So we were kind of happy about that. We did beat the Harpooners this weekend. It was a close affair.
Yeah. Was it the real Harpooners, or was it? I saw a lot of guys on there.
So yeah, they had a couple of Huns, an Orc, and some Reds. Big Mikey was out there.
Big Mikey was looking fit. I saw some photos.
Well, he was looking fit, and he was throwing elbows and fisticuffs pretty good.
Was he really now?
He even made sure that our
so he's getting ready for league, huh?
yeah, he's getting ready for league. He made sure that our scrum half got a yellow card for retaliation against him.
That's smart play. By the forward.
Yeah, and our it was good because our scrum half got his bell rung a little bit, and from that punch took a Mikey fist to the ear.
Oh, so, there you go.
Yeah, so
it's not a light fist either.
No, it's not. So yeah, it was a frustrating game for me, but I'm glad the boys pulled out in the end and made sure that they got on top. So
yeah. That's awesome.
Good. It was a good weekend. Good way to end the 15th season. We're taking the week off this week, and Monday we start for 7th season, going forward into the summer. So,
I mean, this is the first venture into. I mean, for like the development. It was called the was it? Is it the developmental squad? Is that what the technical term is? So the developmental squad academy team. Yeah.
it's the senior academy team.
Yeah. So step one into the right direction. That's up there with 404 Academy and other things. What Austin's doing now that we'll talk about in a minute. But I think it's great. It's a fantastic step in the right direction.
And we've got like 4 of our junior academy players who are going to be coming to the senior academy next year.
Yeah.
So these are guys who have been in the junior academy program 3 or 4 years, and now they're making the step up. So,
and you've had how many step up into a Cats jersey? Any? So
we had 3 get contracted and 2 have started. And played.
Fantastic. That's what it's all. That's
that's a win.
Our goal this year was. Our goal this year was to put 2 on the team and to make sure that they were equitable additions to the team for the club.
Yeah.
And we feel that we did that, and we've got some boons out of our results this year from the partners. And I can't really talk about them right now, but next year we'll be able to talk about them, and I'm pretty excited about them. So
new partnerships for you all, or what was?
No, just our from the ownership group.
Okay.
They've given us some boons for some things we can do next year.
Oh, there you go.
And
okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
And
breaking news.
Yeah. And we got a sevens tournament this summer, and we think that sevens tournament can pretty much fund our sevens program and then a little bit more. And such that we don't have to charge dues for the college players that are coming into play.
Yeah.
So we've got about 8 college players confirmed that are coming in to play sevens with us this summer.
Oh, fantastic! And when is the tournament for you guys?
It's July 10th, middle of the summer.
Sweet. Nothing better than playing sevens in the middle of July in Houston.
But I mean, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to start it a little later in the day than normal.
You should play at nighttime.
Well, we're going to take the we're going to make sure that we start when I do the scheduling. I'm going to start with the finals first, and the last final will be over around 9:30, 9:40.
Yeah.
And then
under the lights,
work your way back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, all I think about was the
tournament.
Good. I think I interrupted Greg.
I think you froze.
Oh, no.
I think that was the passing of the torch to Austin. Austin.
We'll come back to Grant as he comes back in. We lost him completely. That's all right. We got a good photo up there for him, so we'll keep it around. Hey, lots of stuff happening. I mean, a lot of stuff happening in Austin. If we go back to the beginning of May, we were riding pretty high. We had a nice little win streak going on, and then we traveled to New England. We lost to New England. Kind of disappointing. We kind of fell flat in the second half, and then obviously you had the Rooney game that you talked about at the beginning. Played fantastic. I thought that was one of the games I was like, they're really clicking. They shut Rooney out the entire second half, and just had a great game. And then you had LA. Pretty disappointing. I talked about it on the Austin Rugby podcast. There were some not calls, but at least some decisions on who was playing and when they're playing that I'm not a coach, but I just give my armchair quarterback, response and just say, well, I wouldn't have started Ruben DeHaas against LA. Just felt like he had super slow ball. So that was my comment on them. But, Austin really, they then went into Utah. They needed to have a big game, big win, or at least a close game, and had neither. Guys got their doors blown off in the first half, this past weekend, and so that was pretty disappointing. Obviously, it's one of those things where we hope that we were hoping that we could at least get a bonus point out of it, and we almost did. We almost got a bonus point try, but Utah's a tough team. Man, I don't they just score. And you look at the score lines that they've had, they just put points on the board. And Mikey Teo, geez Louise. People who think that Mikey Teo is, I don't know, in the wrong position. I saw people say that he should be a hooker or something like that. I'm like, listen, let him play wherever the hell he wants to play. So, it's I don't know. That's just, you saw the team play when you came down and watched them. They have moments and flashes of being a really good team, and then they have moments of like, oh my gosh, why is that? Why is that happening? Why are they doing that? Shooting themselves in the foot, plagued by injuries. Grant just messaged us and said he lost his internet completely, so he'll be right back.
Well, we may have to interview our guest before he gets back if that's the case.
Yeah, we'll see. We got a little bit.
So we haven't talked much about them. They just joined TRU.
What's that? Sorry,
are they the Orcs?
Yeah, so the Orcs, I mean, they have been playing, but not a whole lot. They played a little bit with the Harpooners. I don't actually know if they played a full. I guess they were Division 3, so I don't know if they actually played a whole season or who they were playing with. But that was kind of, sorry, I was fixing the camera here for a moment for us. So I don't know exactly what was happening with Orcs. They're kind of quiet this offseason. I know that Huns,
but Huns and Blacks.
Oh my gosh,
full seasons.
Yeah, Huns and Blacks had full seasons.
Full COVID seasons.
Full COVID seasons. They ended up, if you look at standings, Huns actually ended up in first place between the Reds, the Blacks, Huns. Who else was it? HTX. And don't
Quins.
I don't think Quins were actually a part of that group though, because I don't think they played a full.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. That's your team, so I don't.
Okay.
I don't really know, but I do know. Like, we were talking to Alex Reese the other day on the podcast, and it was the first time since the team in 2016, the national championship,
the Honko team,
the Honko team, that he said that they beat the Blacks, both matches, but I actually think that they did not beat the Blacks in one of those matches. I had to get it. I'm still trying to get clarification on whether or not they beat them both times in that season, but.
Yeah, it's been tough to get clear answers and clear scores from these matches because, I mean, nothing's been official. It's all been friendlies. And of course,
like that, like the Blacks HTX, like the Blacks win versus, and the HTX said that they won.
The players aren't treating it as friendlies, of course. I mean, they're playing hard. Like they're playing it. Yeah.
I tell you what,
one of the.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, one of the issues that I was talking about with somebody the other day was they're using this as an opportunity for TRRA to test out some not quite so ready referees.
Yeah.
And so I think that caused a few issues here and there, but I think in the long run it's going to be really good for the league. We need more referees. I know there's a desperate need, and there's also a desperate need to get on the same schedule with youth programs and the rest of TRU, because it's become very difficult to have two tournaments of any sort in Texas on the same weekend. Yeah,
it's just one of those things where it's something that they're going to have to definitely look into, because just they're short. We need more. Well, like we said with Kat, and like with the first interview that we had with somebody on, we need more refs in Texas. And I know that they're trying, but it's a big effort right now to try to make that happen. Also we have, I know you're going to be kind of disappointed. You did talk about Big Mikey and playing league. Unfortunately, the NARL West Division has decided that they will not play in the 2021 season, that they will hold off until 2022. Stay tuned, league fans. It'll happen.
Hey, that sounds familiar.
I don't know. I heard that before. Where have you heard that one? That was 6 teams and not 1. So there you go. Other great things that I think are happening in Austin. I think obviously this week we have Big Texas Cup coming up for AGs. I will talk about them one more time. If you want to book, you can actually book a trip or book a ticket for $60. You get a bus ride with beer and snacks and everything all the way over to Houston on Saturday and back, and a ticket to the match. $60. No worries. Don't drink and drive for 6 hours.
That's actually a really good deal.
It's a steal, actually. So
gas alone right now is going to cost you $30 or $40 from Austin. One way.
One way. Not $9 a gallon. Or what kind of? I don't know what kind of car you're driving. You drive a '77 Chrysler.
I have to drive it. That's me, kids.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, one of the other big things coming out with Austin was they finally announced their first academy team, the Austin Outlaws, or the AG Outlaws is the name of the team. Today, the day that we record this, on Wednesday, June 2nd, they came out with their U18. So all of them under 18, a lot of rock rugby guys. Picked up somebody from Houston on that team, which I thought was really fascinating. I wanted to ask Grant about that, but his computer apparently has overheated and his battery is expanding as we speak. So he may or may not be back on this podcast. I told him to jump onto the phone, but we'll see on that one. Austin, we also have another thing for me is Bloodfest, big sevens tournament, which is not in the middle of the summertime, but it's going to feel like it. It's June 19th here at Round Rock Multipurpose Complex. From what I hear, and this is not 100% confirmed, there may be live national broadcast of that. We're working on seeing
that would be awesome, and it deserves it. It's one of the largest sevens tournaments in the world for non-professionals, for amateurs.
Exactly. Obviously we had the big sevens tournament. CRC was this past weekend. Ryan Ginty over there at Next Level Rugby, they did a fantastic job. If you watched any of that, it was just a great program. I have heard rumors, whispers, writings on papyrus paper that they may also be doing Bloodfest this year too. So not confirmed, but I have heard people talking about it who kind of work in there. So we'll see. Again, love to see that. This will be year started in 98. So whatever 98 and 2021 is.
23 years.
I don't know. Sure. Sounds good to me. Uh-oh. We got somebody coming back onto the show. Please welcome back to the Austin Rugby Podcast with a computer not blown up in his face, Mr. Grant Gold.
The Texas Rugby Monthly podcast.
Oh, sorry, Texas Rugby Monthly. Sorry. I do it once a month on this one. I should know that this is my other one.
Look at that beard.
Look at that beard all up in your face. Grant, how's it going, man?
I guess I got to go into the office tomorrow and get another computer.
That's not good.
Yeah, all I get is a message that says Grant's computer is about to explode. Is it a PC?
Okay, well, before we bring Mikey on, should I do a quick Dallas?
Yeah, let's talk about Dallas. And that's pretty much everything that's going on in Austin. Need to be playing some better rugby in the AGs, and good stuff coming with Bloodfest. And we have our youth academy team that we didn't get to talk too much about, Grant, but looking forward to it. Hey, Rick, what's going on in Dallas?
Not particularly great.
Yeah,
news,
Rick.
Because
what is going on in Dallas?
The best quality rugby that we had going is now done. 15th season, as y'all know, is toast. It's done. Everybody's moved on to sevens already. Training has already started, although rain has made that
difficult, challenging.
And everybody's getting ready for the Lone Star Sevens here in Dallas, and then obviously I believe down to Bloodfest the weekend after. Yeah. As far as the Jackals go, 2 items.
Sorry,
one. We got a mascot. We got a mascot.
You got
his name is Jack,
who looks like Wile E. Coyote, just like a knockoff of Wile E. Coyote.
He looks like Wile E. Coyote.
That's a stretch of the imagination, there, Dustin.
What was that? Sorry, Rick. It looks like Wile E. Coyote and who?
And Scooby-Doo had a love child.
Yeah, that's about accurate right there.
Okay, sorry. Well, I mean, I'm just trying to give one credit.
So at some point, I had heard that this was going to be announced way back, and I think I had pre-announced it on the show that somebody was going to be joining the Jackals. That was a ways back. Obviously, I did not think that they were going to then immediately the next day offer him up for birthday parties and events because so many people. Yes.
Excuse me, Dustin Zare with the Austin Rugby Independent newspaper. Who the hell is going to have a mascot come to their birthday or bachelor party, because I did see bachelor party on there, I thought. Just come to their bachelor party when you don't have a team and you don't have something else, which I think you're getting ready to talk about in a minute too.
Yeah, we've
just
not
gonna
only
throw that out there.
not have a team who actually we're going to be talking to a former player briefly here, but we lost our head coach permanently. They told us that Alan Clark would be back for 2022. He was on loan. He would be back for 2022. What did all of us say?
No, he's not.
We'll believe it
when we see it.
And it was announced, I believe it was a week ago, maybe a little bit over a week ago, but right around a week ago, that Alan Clark is no longer on a loan to Seattle. He is now permanently the head coach for the Seattle Seawolves. And so he was bought out. We don't know what we got yet. Obviously administration knows, but nobody else knows. Hopefully it works out to something good, because I'm hoping it wasn't used to pay for Jacks. and no hate towards Jacks.
Your mascot's got some serious cap, covering serious cap space there, man. Come on.
So anyway, that's all that's happening in Dallas.
I tell you what, I feel bad for everything.
Dallas Jesuit had an undefeated rugby season.
That was awesome.
With our upcoming interviewee here as one of the coaches in his first year of coaching there.
I know, that's pretty awesome. We'll get to that in the next segment, but what I do want to say, excuse me, I do feel kind of bad for like the Jackal Den and what you guys have been doing, because you guys really you have passionate fans up there, right? and I know that you want something to happen. And when the team kind of folded, they said, "Don't worry, we'll be back next year. Everything's going to happen." There's been social media posts and it's been happening, but everything that happens, with the defensive coach going back to rugby league and coaching and the Super League over in England, and with Castleford, I think Castleford, right? Castleford. Right. And then also, and we lost Grant again. That's funny. But then, obviously we had with them. And with Clark going, I just felt like it feels like it's just one hit after another for you guys. That, man, it just doesn't feel as though I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but it just doesn't. The signs don't look good right now, right?
Yeah, and I had a conversation with a president of another club while I was down in Austin, and I won't mention who it was. But I got
of a club team or a pro team?
No, of one of the professional teams.
Yeah.
I won't mention who it was, but I've had conversations with this person before and got some inside info on what happened. I will not share it on the podcast today because I don't feel like giving that information necessarily outright at this moment, but we'll definitely talk about it. But let's get to our interviewee for today.
Yeah, let's we're going to take a quick break. We're going to try to get Grant to actually get his stuff to work, because he's got the spinning wheel of death on his screen right now. We'll bring our guest coming back on, and we'll have a quick advertisement on where you can get cool shirts like this, and one that Rick will show you here in a little bit. Oh, right now, look at that. Rugby for Texas shirts. By the way, hey, Rick, did you know that 100% of charity of donations, geez Louise, 100% of proceeds go to charity if you buy that shirt? It's like $25.
I did, and that was definitely a great purchase, knowing that this is going towards a great cause to help out rugby families in need after all the weather we've had here in Texas.
Yeah, we had it for the winter storm, and we'll continue it on to whatever may happen, because they're going to be online. They're on the
Houston flooding for sure.
Yeah, right. Austin maybe flooding too. Yeah, Dallas tornado or something like that, or wherever else.
Probably.
But yeah, it's you can find it. You go to www.therugbyshop.com/Austin Rugby Supporters. We put it all in one because that was the easiest thing to do. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with our guest of honor for the second time in 2 weeks. This time we'll get the recording right. So be right back. Welcome back, Texas Rugby fans up in Dallas. That's Rick Collins. Still disappointed that he did not get nominated to be the mascot for the Jackals. The man smoked.
They won't hire me for anything.
They won't hire you for anything.
The Jackals.
Yeah,
Jack's job.
Maybe it's a sign, man. Maybe it's a sign. Over there in Houston, Mr. Grant Cole smoking what looks to be a very lovely pipe right now. Grant, how's it tasting today?
It's a magnificent beard.
The beard is legendary. Good. And coming back to us for the second week in a row to do a podcast recording that hopefully does not screw up like the last one did. Now in Houston, was in Dallas. We'll talk about that. Mr. Mike Brown. Mike, how's it going, brother? Thanks for coming back for round 2 of torture with.
So much. I loved it so much the first time. Went again. So glad to be back. Happy to talk.
Happy to talk. I wish we had that last podcast recording. It really was good. We're going to talk everything what Mike's been through. When we kind of left last week, you had literally just signed a new contract. You were with the Dallas Jackals to talk about, but then you'd gone over to Houston and playing, and you were in the lineup this past weekend. How'd it feel to get back into the swing of things, on the MLR pitch, man?
Yeah, definitely enjoyed being back out there. Disappointing with the result, obviously, but good to be back out there and, just looking forward to something to build off for next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, obviously, the results didn't bounce in your favor, and San Diego's a tough team, but it was good to see you guys out there and see playing. And then of course we'll talk about the match coming up this weekend, which is a big exciting one, but want to kind of kick things off and just talk about, a lot of people don't know your pathway. They don't know that you've been now officially with all 3 teams in Texas. Austin in season 1, you went up and played with Rooney, signed with Dallas, and now with Houston. What's the journey been like through each one of the cities in Texas? I know we didn't get to play, a game with Dallas, but you were up there with lots. You moved your family there.
Yeah. So I went to Austin season 1. Was playing up in New York. Once New York just had an exhibition season, came with Austin. Really enjoyed my time down in Austin. Got to play with some really cool people, really cool players. Had some really different ownership group, different than what it is now. But still really enjoyed this, the city and my time being there. And like I said, had some still relationships that I still have today that are really cool. And then so then went back to New York and then played there for a couple seasons, and then COVID, sort of changed some things, and Dallas was up and coming, so I was like, all right, I like Texas, the first time, let's try this again, and then so actually was able to work out a coaching while I was down there for a high school team, Dallas Jesuit, and so that happened before actually we reported to MLR camp. And then I moved down there like the first, week in January, and I think mid-January, that's when the Jackals said they weren't going to have a team. So I was just coaching there, and then an opportunity came up after, the high school season for Dallas Jesuit with Houston. And so I, had nothing else to do. So I was all on board. I still want to play. So I took it and just took the drive down to Houston and just get acclimated with it. Been here for a couple weeks and really love it.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike,
awesome.
Is your wife still up here in Dallas working?
No, she works remotely, so she was just able to take the drive down with me.
Oh, nice. Okay. So are y'all permanently staying down there? What's your current plan?
I just got down here, so we're just seeing what's going on. It's TBD at the moment. There's a lot of things, Dallas that I really like with the coaching, but that all depends about my performance and see how this rest of the year plays out.
How it was not the best way for the Jackals to announce that they were not going to be playing in the season. We haven't had a player on to tell us about how that experience was as a player. Can you just speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I was just, working out one day, and then all of a sudden, got a message through our team app through the assistant general manager, Elaine Bassey, and just was like, look at your emails. And it didn't seem like a very positive, message. I looked at it, and then next thing you know they're just, looking, they just sent the email saying, hey, we're not having a season. I thought, oh, wow, like, how I'm going to explain this we moved down here for the coaching, how I'm going to explain this to my wife. And so I was talking to a buddy, and then all of a sudden, before I thought I was, we were the first people to know the players, and all of a sudden, within 2 seconds of me reading the email, I just got messages from everyone. And I was like,
wow.
Oh, damn, they put the press release. They gave us the same press release as, the public immediately. They didn't even warn the players or anything. So, it was definitely surprising, definitely a big hit, but just was trying to make a positive out of a negative. So, it was a big mess from the players standpoint, and talking to different players, now that I'm with Houston, they sort of echo the same sentiment.
Man, it seems like it was pretty rough. I mean, obviously, because you had players flying. You guys had a couple Fijians and stuff that people are coming over, and I know Penny, who was down here, had gone up to play with y'all, as well as Skylar Adams and stuff like those guys who have not gone on to sign with other teams. I know there are different options that people had on whether or not they wanted to take a payment or whatever it may be, but I don't. We can say a couple words as shady would kind of be the one way, but I just feel like it would maybe not handled as well as one would hope from a professional organization to inform the players ahead of time to prepare them for what was going to come out in the press, if you will, if we have a rugby press, which we really don't, but you know what I mean. Social media is our American rugby press. And so that kind of puts a pretty bad damper on there, and it's unfortunate. How many of the guys, you say you talked to some of them, is the feeling pretty much the same all the way around, like pretty disappointed in kind of how it was handled?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes from different situations, depending on how you sort of fell out, or where you sort of landed per se. But I think most guys right now are just positive, but about the situation, they're just like, hey, this is meant to be. I'm supposed to be here, including myself. But, they just think it's kind of shady. The whole situation is kind of, shady, hard to trust an organization that we weren't even able to talk to, an owner or anything. So, it was just kind of, it's, if the ownership, talked to the players, just had to, a 15-minute Zoom call before it happened, then that would have, I think, done a lot of damage control beforehand.
Yeah.
But for the player standpoint, at least, it's tough. It's tough to rebuild that trust.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Wow.
Yeah. So you stayed up here. A lot of guys immediately, found gigs elsewhere, went off to play in LA or in New England or wherever else, and decided to stay and continue coaching at Jesuit. How easy of a decision was that? And how much did you enjoy your season coaching there?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of, I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. I just made a huge move from all the way from, the Northeast to, Texas. And so I just, didn't really have anything that I really wanted to accept at that point for, MLR teams. And I just thought that, I was going to be really happy coaching. And I had a connection, like I said, within Dallas Jesuit. And you guys still have it? They kicked me out.
You there?
Hello?
Yeah.
Am I back? I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
I wanted to coach, and I thought it was a really cool opportunity. They had, there's 60 plus kids in the program, and coaching is something that I wanted to, to do. So I was able to go throughout, and then it just worked out the perfect timing after I, got done coaching our last game. There's an opportunity with Houston. So it all just sort of, worked out at the end where I was able to, work on my coaching standpoint, really enjoyed it. 5 days a week, game on the 6th day, with a lot of different kids. And it was a great time and made some really cool connections.
Yeah. And last week's unaired, unavailable recording that we had, which we talked about, what it was like to coach rugby a little bit, and especially in Texas, right? It's a rapidly growing sport, not just in the U.S., but Texas has been kind of at the forefront of like pushing these really high quality high school teams. You've got, Woodlands, you've got Westlake, you've got Lake Trout, like all these teams around Texas, Jesuit, like all these teams are starting to build up these really great programs. Talk to me a little bit about, how you approach that, what it was like to coach, high school rugby, and, just kind of where you see the high school rugby program moving forward, especially in Texas itself, or just in America in general.
Yeah, I just think Texas, they do, and there's just better athletes down here, in my opinion. I just think there's better athletes in rugby just coming in general, but especially in Texas, especially when you get into the single schools. You get a lot of good athletes right there that are interested in the sport that they take through the single schools. The schools put money behind the programs, and they're able to actually make it legitimate. And these top athletes say, hey, I have a ball in my hand, I get to run over people. There's a lot of things that are, that Texans really correlate well with rugby. So these kids really enjoy it. There's a lot of good programs out there. During COVID, we try to schedule as many people as we could at Dallas Jesuit. We would travel. We played Lake Travis one time to go, and then we played a bunch of Houston teams as well. So we were really trying to, play as many teams as possible. It's a little easier during the COVID to play with just the single schools instead of the club because COVID testing too. Some clubs, they had no idea, who was contracted COVID, while the schools were, really trying to play with only like the single schools per se, unless they were in our division. I really enjoyed it. I think the high school, you got to make it, not all these guys are going to play, college, let alone pro. Maybe they'll play college, but if you have if you make it fun and you make it enjoyable, then they'll stick with it. Either a fan or as a player or administration or even a ref, something within the game. If you make it fun, but if you just make it fitness and just make it very drill based, I really think that's where you lose people. Like I said before, you're not only going against other sports, you're going up against, TikTok, Xbox, PlayStation video games. So, that's the competition you're having. You just can't make it just, you're just not going up against lacrosse. So you got to make it fun. And I think, if we make it, the high school a little more, just more serious, and we stick, keep the programs that are really trying to make this, actually legit, then I think you can get school administration money behind it, sort of like the lacrosse model. And I really think it could sort of, take off, and you'll get more serious athletes that it will produce, because there's, these kids can see the professional league within Major League Rugby. There's a pathway now too. So there's a huge interest. And I think like the sport's just becoming more serious in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Mike, do you think that coaching is in your future after you retire from rugby?
I mean, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet, whenever I do retire, but I think coaching is probably somewhere in there. Even my close teammates, back at, Rugby United in New York would always tell me that I was going to be, they said I was going to be a coach. And, so this is sort of, my way to test it out. And I think some of my, just theories that I have, coaching is always changing. It's a black hole. Like more you learn, less you know. So
it's just life in general.
Yeah, life in general, right? So, but I was glad that some of my theories that I thought as a player sort of, translated, I think, positively to the kids' future, and they had some, really good fun and really good relationships. But I think coaching is something in my future.
Good. Call me up when you're ready.
Hey, Mike.
I'll have an open, free, unpaid position at SMU for you.
Okay. There we go. Got one offer.
There you go.
So, Mikey, tell us about the weather down in Houston.
Well, it's very humid, but I don't mind that. Just, it's just raining. Like there's a 7-day stretch of just rain, but I like the heat. I actually prefer it. That's why I moved down to Texas. But it's just humid. But I love that it's at least warm out here. I prefer that over the cold. Playing in New York, we would practice at Staten Island, Randall's Island in January when it's 15 degrees running, wearing like layers after layers of clothes. That gets old real quick on turf. So this is a lot more enjoyable.
Get back to me in July.
That's always good. Ready to say that.
Everyone says that.
That's good. Yeah. So
are you going to be involved in any sevens, or what's your plan for the summer? After
we'll play
the season's over.
I'm really not too sure, honestly. We'll just play out to the season, and we'll just sort of see what happens. Still trying to figure that all out, but a lot of that depends exactly, how these other games go.
Yeah. Obviously, you talk about like what's the career after rugby. We've talked about it a little bit before. What do you think is important for people who, there's a lot of players in Major League Rugby. Who are the types of people that we want to see, that you want to see start, once they transition out of that playing role into a coaching role? What are some of those key qualities you think is going to be important for those players, say that, like yourself, you just want to go, you may not want to coach collegiate or professional right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
You may want to go down and coach high school. Why do you think that's important? And what are the type of qualities you think is going to be important for those types of coaches?
I just think that, rugby, as we all know, there's a lot of life qualities that go within the sport and could take you very far. And if you have someone, that just positively impacts these guys, that, all these players, especially at Texas, let's just say, football, intense, a lot of running. If you just make a game enjoyable, be a human being, have a smile on their face, and these other MLR players, if they, if you tell them that you played in Major League Rugby, these kids will just, look you up on the internet and be your best friend and just have a smile. So if you make a positive team environment, then that could carry, a lot of weight into these, in very influential years. And then, they're going to have positive remarks about the game of rugby, about whether they stay in the club or go to college or just know their buddies or be a fan in the stands. So if any, it just need to have the MLR. Every Major League Rugby player can coach high school. They can positively impact the game. All they need to have is just positive attitude and just work well with the kids and make it like I said, make it enjoyable. That's the biggest thing. Make it enjoyable. And
and obviously the more you make it enjoyable, you get people out, you have the ability to have, and we talked about last time, have those full practices. So it's not the not the 15-on-5 or whatever it may be, where you hit the last 15 minutes, as you said, which is pretty much what we all did when we us older group did when we were playing rugby. But making it enjoyable, I think, is a key thing. But teaching those life lessons, as you talked about, like being the rugby ethics, stand up people, respectable adult, building respectable adult men and women. And I think that's a key thing. And I commend you and others like yourself who go and coach at the high school level right now, who are trying to do that for that next generation of those MLR USA Eagles that we hope to have.
Yeah, and I think it's just about nominating, make sure, if this player is really good, this country has an issue of just nomination and talent identification. That's why they're doing all these camps. If this player is good, the coach needs to, really step up and put that player out there, or really talk to the player and be like, are you interested in this? And have that conversation instead of waiting on the player. And then, he doesn't know, obviously a high school kid doesn't know exactly of the USA landscape, be out there, share your resources. If you don't know the person, rugby's a small world, ask someone. And then you could take, that person could potentially, be the next MLR player or, be on the next USA team. So I think standing up for your players, nominating your players is a very important thing that I think some coaches, don't really do as well as jobs they probably should have.
Interesting.
Hey, I have one question. This gets talked a lot about in forums, and it's not just about different areas of America in terms of rugby style. It gets talked about in Europe and Pacific and everything else. But do you feel, after you've been in the Northeast playing in Texas, are there different styles of rugby depending on kind of the region that the rugby is being played? Do you think Texas is more hard hitting and West Coast is more free flowing, or do you think that's all just semantics that have been kind of talked about forever?
Maybe
be
back
made
in the
true.
day.
Just because we want those different things, right?
Maybe back in the day, when, they had the Super League and, guys who were from the area. Now the teams are a lot of the guys are just so all over the place that it really doesn't hold weight. But maybe back in the Super League, hearing back the old, guys in the Northeast with the Nyack and Old Blues, just hearing those stories, and then, how crazy they are. Maybe and hearing the stories from, Texas and the West Coast, probably that where all those guys were local, probably that was, somewhat true. But now everyone's sort of just spread out of the place, and just because of the MLR.
Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, I think it is. People just want it to be different because we play a different style. It's like it's like the NFL, West Coast football style, like whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I think I agree with you, Mike, because the people who have moved around. Like you think about even myself, like you and I, Mike, we're Midwestern guys. Like but I also grew up in California and then moved back, and so we played rugby in the Midwest. We're now down here in Texas. Granted, you're the only one still playing. I'm doing this, whatever this is. I'm part of the three-headed Hydra. So, but yeah, I think I think when you look back at the changes that have happened over the past couple of years, the introduction of the MLR has probably been just a giant catalyst for more exposure, more I guess just more overall availability for that younger generation, like your high school players that you coach, to go out and watch just rugby, where it wasn't, we had to wait up until 3:00 in the morning to watch some Super Rugby on, on a cable box that you had to take to a bar because only one person owned access to that cable box or something. It's different now, and so that's kind of one of those things. Just kind of thinking about it. Do you think that what is the next step after this? What becomes the next step to help grow the sport in the U.S.?
I think just making sure the league is more, MLR is here to stay, number one, and then if we had obviously the Rugby World Cup, in 2027 or 2031, that will be very big. Sort of just like more what soccer sort of did. And then, you just create, more youth growth programs. You got to solidify the pathway more to make it more legit. Keeping up to date with the social media, that's huge. All these high schoolers, all these people on Instagram, you got to keep it on Instagram. They see it, they'll love it, and they'll want to play it. So, but going back to sort of what the style thing is, I really don't think that, you're asking, what's the difference between, the different regions. I really don't think U.S. we don't really have a style yet. You look at the Eagles.
Yeah.
Do we have a style? Not too sure.
No.
In MLR, do we have a style? There's a lot of teams saying they're trying to play attractive rugby, but there's a lot of different teams that are playing someone else. They're winning and it's really good, but they might not be throwing the ball around a lot. And some teams
there's a difference between saying and doing.
There's a lot of styles. I mean, we can look at we can look at the exactly last game. We have a team throwing the ball around like LA, and then we have a team like defending and just wants to play territory like Atlanta. So I don't think the U.S. we have a style yet.
Yeah,
it's still to be determined, which is why everyone loves to watch this league, because they can just see it growing. But they don't know exactly, they can see the destination, but they don't know exactly the journey, how it's going to grow. They see it's going to be really well. But I don't think our style yet is still to be determined, which is really exciting, actually.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Mikey, I obviously, as we get ready to close it out, we talked about it last time. I know there's some guys that you've coached that are going on to do some great things, and some big people that you want to give special recognition to. I'll leave you time again now, unless there's any other questions from the other two lads in the other parts of Texas.
I'm
good. Got timing. We don't have a 2-hour program, so we just gotta make sure. But yeah, Mikey, go for it. Like I'd love to talk those guys up again, like you did last time. That was really cool.
Yeah, Cy Mendenhall, who's a 13 for us, going to St. Bonaventure. These are the athletes that are going to go to the Houston identification camp. For the U.S. this weekend. So Cy Mendenhall, he was a 13. Jack Judson is walking out of Purdue. Football, but also wants to stay involved with USA Rugby. He's a 12. Then we got Marshall Neary going to West Point. He's a lock. We also have Alex Torontos. That was a prop this year for us, really good. And we have a flanker in Luke Aldinger. That's a really good flanker. So, like I said, it's about recognition. There's a lot of times there's some good news outlets that keep up to date with the teams, but the players' names, I think, really gets missed out, and we have to promote these guys' players' names. So I'm just there to, all support them. And there's some great guys that, who knows, one of them could be, or maybe a couple MLR, Eagles, and that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that would definitely be maybe for you, that kind of a sweet, yeah, a sweet cherry on the top of the cake type of thing. Obviously, we look forward to seeing that. There's lots of great things. By the way, Rick mentioned it at the end of the last segment. You guys did go undefeated in your own as a coach. You are undefeated as a coach, right?
Just quit now.
So just quit now.
Just quit now.
So you're undefeated. You guys won your division here in Texas, and then correct me if I'm wrong. You did go over to Louisiana and put a hurting on those to the east of us.
Yeah, right before it was pretty cool. Nice little curtain raiser before the NOLA Houston game. So we beat the Louisiana State champs, Bradley Martin. So that was cool. That's
good stuff. Oh, it can only get better from here. Man, good stuff. Gentlemen, another podcast in the books. This one without too many technical issues, minus Grant's computer blowing up in front of him. Grant, you got anything for Houston? Big Texas Cup match coming up this weekend. We didn't even talk about that. Mikey playing his old team in the Texas Cup this coming weekend. Is Mikey going to get on the field? We'll see. We'll have to check out Texas Rugby Monthly.
We'll have to watch the Facebook page.
Facebook page for your picks.
My famous picks of the week.
The Rick's picks, which don't always go the way that he would want them to.
They do not.
Yeah, that's why I don't do Super Brew. Grant, you got anything over there in Houston?
A beard.
No, sir, not now. We're doing real good.
We're doing good now. Rick Collins up there in Dallas. Rick, we're this is like episode 9-10 of the podcast of the Texas Rugby Monthly podcast. We're coming up on an anniversary. So anything from you?
And my team still hasn't played a match.
Your team still hasn't played a match. Almost a year later. It's one of those sad moments. Hey, if you want to watch our pretty faces, you can go onto our YouTube page, which is Texas Rugby Monthly. Just search it on YouTube. If you are on YouTube right now and decide that, hey, those guys just do not look very good, we just want to listen to it, you can go on to Spotify. This is all under the Austin Rugby Podcast page. Rick is holding up our wonderful T-shirts supporting Texas rugby families who have been impacted by the adverse weather events in the winter and everything moving forward. As we said in the last segment, Austin Rugby Supporters is the area underneath the rugby shop that you need to go to. So therugbyshop.com, Austin Rugby Supporters is that link. Gentlemen, always appreciative. Grant Cole over in Houston, Rick Collins up in Dallas. I am Dustin Zare down in the capital of Texas here in Austin. Wishing you guys all the best of days, and we will catch you next time on the pitch.